A massive mushroom cloud rises above Russia's Novorossiysk port. Oil storage tanks and weapons warehouses are burning out of control. This isn't just another drone attack. This marks the day Ukraine officially announced it's using its own homemade cruise missiles, the Flamingo, and the upgraded Neptune. The war's playbook just got rewritten. At the same time, 730 kilometers away from Ukraine, the Kostroma power station was struck and set on fire. This plant is Russia's third biggest, and it supplies electricity to Moscow. Russia's famous S-400 defense systems did nothing to stop it. Putin's claim that the war would stop if Western countries cut their support is now proven false. The war has reached Russian soil. Let's start with what actually happened for those who want the basic facts. During the night of November 13th, Ukraine carried out its biggest and most advanced strike against Russia yet. This wasn't just a bunch of drones. Ukrainian military leadership personally announced this was the first official use of their new Flamingo and Bars cruise missiles. The main target was Novorossiysk. According to Jerome Starkey, the Sun's defense reporter, this port city became home to Russia's Black Sea Fleet after they got forced out of Crimea. This was meant to be their protected zone. A large combined mission, led by the SBU GER and border forces, hit several important targets. We're talking about pipelines, oil tanks, pump stations, and vital port areas. Unconfirmed sources, along with the huge size of that mushroom cloud, point to a major weapons storage area, or possibly a missile depot for the fleet getting destroyed too. The embarrassment is complete. Russia can't even defend its fleet at its last remaining deepwater port. While Novorossiysk was still burning, the second part of the attack reached deep into Russian territory. The Orel power station went down. The entire city lost power. This plant is essential. It runs nearby weapons factories like Orel Techmash. But the biggest achievement was hitting the Kostroma power plant, located 730 kilometers from Ukraine's border. This facility is a major energy supplier for the Moscow area itself. Now, let's talk about why this matters so much. This strike represents a major turning point in the war. Putin's main comfort has been simple. Even when things went badly at the front lines, the Russian homeland, Moscow, St. Petersburg, and the factories deep inside the country stayed safe. That comfort ended on November 13th. Ukrainian military command has revealed its game-changing weapons: the Flamingo, the Bars, the long-range Neptune, and the Lyuty drones. These are all Ukrainian-made products. Let's break down these weapons. The original Neptune missile became famous for sinking the Moskva warship. Now, as President Zelensky confirmed himself, Ukraine has been working on this technology to extend how far it can fly. Reports say the new long-range Neptune can reach targets 3,000 kilometers away. The Bars missile can hit targets 800 kilometers out. This means military bases past the Ural Mountains are now within striking distance. But the real breakthrough is the Flamingo. In many respects, this is Ukraine's version of America's Tomahawk missile. It's a brand new ground-launched cruise missile. It flies low, it flies fast, and it hugs the terrain. This creates a tactical nightmare for Russian air defense crews. For the last 2 years, Russian radar and interception systems have been calibrated to look for slow, loud drones that fly at a predictable speed. On November 13th, they were faced with cruise missiles that fly much faster and hug the terrain to stay off the radar screens. The result was a total failure of the defense network. Residents in Orel described explosions that sounded like missile impacts rather than the buzzing sound of drones. Debris falling on apartment buildings and parking lots indicates that the interceptors missed their targets or hit them only after they had already reached the city. The Russian military simply could not track or stop a high-speed cruise missile attack. This failure triggered a chaotic response from Russian officials. As the power plant in Orel burned, the local governor Andriy Klitschkov had to address a panicked population. His advice was telling. He told millions of people that if they were at home, they should hide in rooms with solid walls and no windows, such as hallways, bathrooms, or closets. This statement reveals a critical gap in Russian preparedness. After decades of projecting military strength, the local government admitted it has no functional bomb shelters or civil defense plan. The governor of a major region in 2025 is effectively telling citizens to hide in their closets because the state cannot protect them. The response from the central propaganda apparatus in Moscow was equally frantic. Vladimir Solovyov, a prominent state media figure, reacted to the strikes by demanding the total destruction of Ukrainian cities. He listed Dnipro, Kyiv, Kharkiv, Mykolaiv, and Odessa as targets that should be wiped off the map. This level of rhetoric is usually a sign of helplessness. When a regime cannot stop an attack, it often resorts to threatening apocalyptic retaliation to cover up its defensive weakness. While Russia responded by launching hundreds of missiles and drones at civilian residential areas in Kyiv, the Ukrainian target selection remained focused on military and logistical infrastructure. In Crimea, the attack hit the Morskoy oil terminal, which supplies fuel to the front lines. They also struck the Kirovskoy airport and a radar station in Yevpatoria. These are blinding strikes intended to remove Russia's ability to see and supply its troops. Further reports indicate that command posts were also targeted. In Zaporizhzhia, the forward command post of the 5th Combined Arms Army and the 127th Motorized Rifle Division were hit. These strikes are designed to remove the decision-makers from the battlefield. This is a specific strategy known as decapitation. By killing generals and colonels and destroying their communication hubs, the Ukrainian military disrupts the ability of the Russian army to coordinate maneuvers. This external pressure is compounding an internal economic crisis within Russia. The civilian economy is showing severe signs of strain. Data indicates that thousands of logistics companies are nearing bankruptcy, and a significant percentage of businesses are defaulting on debts. Sanctions and the cost of the war are draining the system. Reports also suggest that millions of barrels of Russian oil are stuck at sea because refineries hit by previous drone strikes cannot process the crude oil. There is also a growing trend of internal sabotage. Russian citizens are increasingly being recruited to damage their own infrastructure in exchange for money. In recent days, there have been incidents in Leningrad and Irkutsk where individuals set fire to railway electrical panels and transformer cabins. These are not political activists. These are ordinary citizens motivated by cash payments offered by anonymous handlers. This suggests that economic desperation is overriding national loyalty for some of the population. To make matters worse for the Kremlin, there is a severe manpower shortage. Intelligence reports state that North Korea is preparing to send 120,000 workers to Russia. These workers are not going to the front lines to fight. They are being brought in to staff defense factories that build drones. This is a critical admission. Russia has lost so many men to the war and emigration that it cannot find enough workers to staff its own weapons factories. It is now relying on imported labor from North Korea to keep its military production lines running. However, Ukraine is also facing serious internal challenges. While the missile strikes were a success, a corruption scandal is developing in Kyiv. A company called Firepoint, which manufactures the Flamingo missile, has been named in a money laundering investigation. This investigation involves nearly $100 million and implicates aides close to the government. Corruption has historically been a major issue for Ukraine, and a scandal involving the manufacturer of a key weapon system is dangerous. It risks damaging the trust between Ukraine and its Western allies who provide financial aid. Additionally, Ukraine is struggling with its own manpower issues. The government is finding it difficult to draft enough soldiers to rotate troops on the front lines. There is an ongoing debate with European nations about whether to deport Ukrainian men of fighting age back to Ukraine. This places both sides of the war in a race against exhaustion. Russia is importing labor and facing economic collapse, while Ukraine is fighting corruption and draft shortages. We need to analyze why these specific missile strikes represent a turning point that goes beyond just the physical damage on the ground. This is about the breaking of the unwritten social contract that has held the current Russian regime together for over 2 decades. The core agreement between the Kremlin and the Russian people has always been simple. The people stay out of politics, and in exchange, the state guarantees stability and safety within the borders of the homeland. For the first 2 years of this war, that contract held up reasonably well for people in Moscow and the central regions. The war was something they watched on television. It happened in a different country, but the introduction of the Flamingo and Neptune missiles has shattered that barrier. When a power plant burns 730 kilometers from the border, and when the air defense systems that were paraded through Red Square fail to stop the incoming fire, the illusion of safety evaporates. This creates a specific type of institutional fear. A dictatorship relies on the projection of absolute competence and strength. When a governor tells people to hide in a bathroom because there are no shelters, he is admitting that the state has failed its most basic duty of protection. This is similar to historical moments where centralized regimes suddenly look fragile because they cannot secure their own capital regions. The psychological impact of air raid sirens in cities that thought they were untouchable is profound. It forces the population to ask questions that the state cannot answer. We must also look at the strategic dilemma this forces upon the Russian military command. Air defense systems are a finite resource. You only have a certain number of S-400 and Pantsir batteries. Until now, Russia has concentrated these systems on the front lines in Ukraine to protect their troops and occupied cities. Now they have a math problem. If they leave the air defenses on the front line, Ukrainian cruise missiles will continue to destroy power plants, refineries, and factories deep inside Russia. This will strangle the economy and the war machine. However, if they pull the air defenses back to protect Moscow, Orel, and Novorossiysk, they leave their frontline troops exposed to Ukrainian aircraft and missiles. There is no solution that covers everything. By extending the range of the war to 3,000 kilometers, Ukraine has stretched the Russian defensive line until it is breaking. This is a classic strategy of overextension. You force your opponent to defend everywhere, which means they are strong nowhere. The reliance on North Korean labor is another massive signal of institutional decay. A superpower does not import labor to build its own weapons unless it has completely exhausted its own workforce. This mirrors the late stages of other long conflicts where the aggressor nation hollows out its own economy to feed the military. The fact that Russia needs 1,2,000 workers from Pyongyang to build drones shows that the mobilization has stripped the Russian economy of its productive capacity. They have sent the factory workers to the trenches, and now the factories are empty. We also have to compare the two internal crises. In Russia, the crisis is systemic and economic sabotage for cash and a lack of workers. In Ukraine, the crisis is political and reputational, corruption and the draft. The corruption scandal with the Firepoint company is particularly dangerous because Ukraine relies entirely on external goodwill for financial survival. If the West believes their money is being stolen or laundered through defense contracts, the flow of money could stop. Russia does not have this problem because it funds its war by selling oil and gas, but it faces the problem of physical collapse. Ukraine risks political isolation. Russia risks state failure. The reaction of the propaganda machine demanding the erasure of cities is an attempt to use fear to regain control. But fear only works if you can back it up. When a robot falls over on stage and a governor admits there are no bunkers, the fear turns into ridicule and anger. The regime is losing the monopoly on the narrative because the reality of burning oil depots is visible to everyone with a smartphone. Can Russia plug the holes in its air defense and stabilize its economy before the winter breaks its back? Or will Ukraine's new missiles and the internal rot inside Russia cause a systemic collapse of the Kremlin's war machine? What do you think? We look forward to your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to stay informed about our new analyses and global breaking points. Thank you for choosing us.